Bringing timeless Buddhist principles to everyday life, we explore mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness in a modern context. By connecting ancient wisdom to today's challenges, we guide you toward inner peace, clarity, and resilience. Welcome to Radiant Wisdom.
There was once a man who spent his entire life chasing happiness. He worked tirelessly, always believing that once he earned enough money, once he bought the perfect house, once he found the perfect relationship, then and only then he would be truly happy. Years passed. He achieved his goals one by one, but every time he reached a milestone, a new desire took its place. Happiness was always just out of reach, like a shadow that disappeared whenever he got close. One day, exhausted and frustrated, he met a wise old teacher. The man asked, "Why is happiness so difficult to find? I've done everything right, yet I still feel empty." The teacher smiled and handed him a cup of tea. As he poured, the cup quickly filled to the brim, but the teacher didn't stop. The tea overflowed, spilling onto the table. "Well, are you still pouring?" the man exclaimed. "The cup is already full." The teacher nodded. "And so is your life. You keep adding more goals, more desires, more expectations, believing that happiness will come when you have enough. But just like this cup, if your mind is always full of wanting, there is no space for peace." The man sat in silence, finally understanding. "And now I ask you, are you chasing happiness the same way? Do you believe that joy will come someday when everything is perfect? If so, my friend, you are looking in the wrong place. True happiness is not in the future. It is not in the next job, the next purchase, or the next relationship. It is right here, in this moment. But to see it, you must first stop searching. Today, let's explore a truth that could change your life. Suffering is real, but life is more than just suffering. Before we begin, if this message resonates with you, take a moment to like, share, and comment. Let's take this journey together. The truth about suffering. For many of us, suffering feels like the central theme of life. Loss, failure, loneliness, disappointment. These experiences shape us, sometimes leaving scars that never seem to fade. And if you've ever heard the Buddhist teaching, life is suffering, you might think that this is the ultimate truth. That pain is inescapable, that no matter what we do, we are bound to suffer. But this is a misunderstanding. Yes, suffering exists, but life is not only suffering. Think about the sky on a stormy day. Dark clouds may cover it, rain may pour, and thunder may roar. But beyond those clouds, the blue sky is still there. The sun is still shining. We just can't see it at that moment. Suffering is like that storm. It comes and goes. But joy, peace, and beauty, they are always there, waiting to be noticed. The root of suffering, resistance. The Buddha taught that suffering doesn't come simply from pain. It comes from our resistance to pain. Imagine holding a rope, and at the other end, someone is pulling with all their strength. The harder you resist, the more your hands burn, but the moment you let go, the pain stops. This is what happens in life. We resist sadness, we resist failure, we resist loss. We keep asking, "Why is this happening to me? How can I make it go away?" But in doing so, we only tighten our grip on suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding that suffering is part of the human experience, but it does not define life. It's just one piece of the puzzle. Suffering and joy coexist. Think of the happiest moments in your life. Maybe it was a time you laughed uncontrollably with a loved one. Maybe it was standing by the ocean, watching the waves crash gently against the shore. Maybe it was the warmth of a hug when you needed it the most. Those moments were real. Now, think of a difficult time you have endured. Perhaps you lost someone dear to you. Perhaps you faced rejection, heartbreak, or uncertainty. That pain was real too. But here's the important truth. Both experiences exist together. Just as the night and day cycle through, just as the seasons change, suffering and joy are intertwined. You cannot have one without the other. A life without suffering would also be a life without growth, without appreciation, without contrast. If you have never known loneliness, how would you truly understand the value of love? If you have never failed, how would you appreciate the sweetness of success? If you have never experienced darkness, how would you recognize the light? Life is not just suffering. It is everything, the sorrow and the joy, the pain and the beauty, the chaos and the peace. The key is in learning to embrace it all. So, how do we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering? The first step is awareness. When suffering arises, don't run from it. Don't bury it, numb it, or fight against it. Instead, acknowledge it. Sit with it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what is this pain teaching me? How can I grow from this? And then, shift your focus. Look beyond the storm. Notice the small moments of joy, the sound of birds in the morning, the laughter of a child, the comfort of a deep breath. These things are always present. We just have to see them. Suffering is real, but so is love, peace, and happiness. And when we learn to accept both, we begin to understand the true beauty of life. The trap of constant desire. There was once a man who lived in a small village. He spent his entire life believing that happiness was just one step away. When I get a better job, then I'll be happy, he told himself. Years passed. He worked hard and finally got the job he wanted. But soon he thought, I need to earn more money. Then I'll truly be happy. So he worked even harder, sacrificing time with his family, missing out on life's simple joys. Eventually, he became wealthy. But then another thought came. I need a bigger house, a newer car, a better status in society. Then I'll be happy. No matter what he achieved, happiness never seemed to last. It was always somewhere in the future, just out of reach. One day, as an old man, he looked back and realized he had spent his whole life chasing something that was never missing in the first place. The illusion of I'll be happy when. How often do we fall into this same trap? I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be happy when I find the perfect relationship. I'll be happy when I make 6 figures. I'll be happy when I retire. But here's the truth. Happiness that depends on external conditions is an illusion. Think about it. When you finally got something you once desperately wanted, a new phone, a dream job, a romantic partner, how long did that happiness last? A few days? A few months? Soon enough, the excitement faded and a new desire took its place. This cycle is endless because the mind is always looking for the next thing. Buddhism calls this tanha, or craving, the constant hunger for more. But the problem is, no matter how much we get, the mind always moves the goalpost. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. Why do we keep chasing? Society conditions us to believe that happiness is something to be earned, achieved, or bought. From a young age, we are taught that success means more money, more status, more possessions. Marketing plays on this. Advertisements whisper, "You're not enough." But if you buy this product, if you look a certain way, if you own this brand, you will be happy. But have you ever noticed that the people who seem to have everything, money, fame, power, are often just as restless and unsatisfied as everyone else? Because happiness was never about having more. Imagine you are climbing a mountain, thinking that the top will bring you happiness. You struggle, you sweat, you push yourself harder, believing that only when you reach the peak will you feel fulfilled. But what if you paused? What if, instead of obsessing over the destination, you looked around and saw the breathtaking view, the fresh air, the beauty of the journey itself? That's the secret. Happiness is not at the top of the mountain. It's in the steps you take every day. It's in the simple moments. Drinking a warm cup of tea, laughing with a friend, feeling the sun on your skin. When you stop chasing happiness and start noticing it in the present, something shifts. The endless craving fades. And you begin to realize you were never missing anything. So how do we escape the trap of constant desire? 1. Practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, take a moment to appreciate what you do have. Right now, in this moment, there are things in your life worth cherishing. 2. Let go of more. Understand that more money, more success, or more possessions won't bring lasting fulfillment. True happiness comes from within. 3. Be present. Stop waiting for happiness to come someday. Instead, ask yourself, what can I appreciate right now? 4. Understand impermanence. Everything you desire is temporary. Instead of attaching your joy to fleeting things, find peace in the present moment. The truth is, you don't need to chase happiness. It is not something outside of you. It is already here, right now, waiting for you to notice. The power of the present moment. Imagine you are holding a jar of water. If you keep shaking it, the water stays cloudy, disturbed, restless. But if you place it down and let it be, slowly the particles settle and the water becomes clear. This is what happens to the mind when we stop running and return to the present moment. Yet most of us live anywhere but here. We dwell on the past, rehashing old mistakes, reliving painful memories. Or we escape into the future, worrying about things that haven't happened yet, hoping that someday everything will be perfect. But life does not exist in the past or the future. It exists only now. Why do we struggle to be present? Our minds are like restless monkeys, constantly jumping from one thought to another. Society teaches us that doing more is the key to success. We multitask, we rush, we fill every quiet moment with distractions, phones, television, endless scrolling. Yet, despite all this activity, we often feel empty, disconnected, as if life is slipping through our fingers. Have you ever been so lost in thought that you don't even remember how you got home? Have you ever eaten a meal so quickly that you barely tasted it? Have you ever been with loved ones but were too distracted to truly be with them? This is what happens when we are absent from our own lives. The present moment is the only reality. A Zen teacher once asked his students, "Where are you?" One answered, "I'm here." The teacher smiled and asked, "At what time is it?" Another replied, "Now." The teacher nodded. "Then remember this. Here and now is the only place you will ever truly be." We keep waiting for happiness in the future, but the future never comes. It is always just ahead. The only time we can truly live is this moment. How to return to the present. 1. Breathe. Right now, take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs. Feel the sensation of being alive. 2. Observe. Look around you. Notice the colors, the sounds, the textures of this moment. See what you usually overlook. 3. Slow down. Eat mindfully. Walk mindfully. Listen deeply. When you slow down, life becomes richer. 4. Accept what is. Stop fighting the past. Stop fearing the future. This moment, right now, is enough. Happiness is not something we need to chase. It is already here, in the simple act of being present. The Illusion of Busyness. There was once a man who worked from sunrise to midnight, day after day. He was always in a hurry, rushing from one task to another, answering emails while eating. checking his phone during conversations, constantly thinking about what needed to be done next. One evening, his young daughter came up to him and asked, "Daddy, how much do you make in an hour?" Surprised, he replied, "Why do you ask?" She hesitated before saying, "Because I want to buy an hour of your time." At that moment, something inside him shifted. He realized that in his race to accomplish more, he had lost sight of what truly mattered. The modern disease, always being busy. In today's world, busyness is worn like a badge of honor. If someone asks how we're doing, we often reply, "Busy," as if being busy means we are important, as if constant activity is a sign of success. But is it? Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence, without a screen, without checking your phone, without thinking about your to-do list? We have mistaken busyness for productivity and productivity for meaning. But in reality, filling every moment with activity does not bring peace. It brings exhaustion. The fear of stillness. Many people fear slowing down. They keep themselves occupied, working, scrolling, watching, consuming, because they are afraid of facing themselves. Have you ever noticed that when you are alone in silence, uncomfortable thoughts arise? Maybe regrets from the past, maybe anxieties about the future, maybe a deep sense of emptiness. Instead of addressing these feelings, most people escape into distractions. They keep moving, keep running, keep doing. But running does not make the emptiness go away. It only postpones the moment when we must finally confront ourselves. Less doing, more being. There is a difference between doing and being. Doing is chasing, achieving, producing. Being is experiencing, feeling, existing in the present moment. A tree does not rush to grow. A flower does not force itself to bloom. They exist naturally and fully in their own time, and so can we. How to escape the illusion of busyness. 1. Pause. Take moments throughout your day to simply stop. Breathe. Notice what is around you. 2. Prioritize. Ask yourself, am I busy with things that truly matter? If not, let go of what is unnecessary. 3. Be present. When you eat, taste your food. When you talk, listen deeply. When you rest, truly rest. 4. Embrace stillness. Instead of filling every quiet moment with distractions, allow yourself to just be. Business does not equal purpose. In fact, slowing down is often the key to truly living. The practice of mindfulness. A young monk once asked his teacher, "Master, what is the secret to happiness?" The teacher smiled and simply replied, "When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you breathe, breathe." Confused, the young monk said, "But I already do those things every day." The teacher shook his head. "Do you? When you eat, are you truly tasting your food, or are you thinking about something else? When you walk, do you feel the ground beneath your feet, or are you lost in thought? When you breathe, do you notice your breath, or are you too busy worrying about tomorrow?" The young monk finally understood him. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is not a complicated technique. It is simply the practice of being fully present in whatever you are doing. Yet, in our modern world, most people live on autopilot. Eating while scrolling their phones, listening while thinking about what to say next, walking without noticing the beauty around them. We rush through life without truly experiencing it. But when we practice mindfulness, everything changes. A simple cup of tea becomes a moment of peace. A deep breath becomes a source of calm. A conversation becomes a true connection. Mindfulness transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. How mindfulness reduces suffering. Most of our suffering comes from being trapped in our thoughts, regrets about the past, worries about the future. But suffering cannot exist in the present moment. Right now, take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs. Exhale slowly. In this single breath, there is no past, no future, no problems, only now. When we learn to return to the present, suffering loses its grip. Simple ways to practice mindfulness. 1. Mindful breathing. Throughout the day, pause and take 3 deep breaths. Feel each inhale and exhale. 2. Mindful eating. Eat without distractions. Taste each bite. Notice the flavors and textures. 3. Mindful walking. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. Observe your surroundings. 4. Mindful listening. When someone speaks, give them your full attention. Listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. 5. Mindful gratitude. Before bed, think of one thing you appreciated that day. It could be as simple as the warmth of the sun on your skin. Mindfulness is not about changing your life. It is about fully living the life you already have. The choice to smile through pain. There was once a man who lost everything: his job, his home, and even the people he loved. Broken and hopeless, he wandered into a monastery, seeking wisdom. He asked the old monk, "Master, how can I go on? My life is full of suffering." The monk handed him a glass of salt water and said, "Drink this." The man took a sip and immediately spat it out. "It's too salty," he exclaimed. Then the monk led him to a vast, beautiful lake. He took a handful of salt, threw it into the lake, and said, "Now drink from here." The man hesitated but did as he was told. The water was fresh and cool. The monk smiled. The salt is like suffering. It is always there. But whether it overwhelms you depends on how wide your heart is. If you keep your pain locked inside a small glass, it will always taste bitter. But if you expand your heart like this lake, your suffering will no longer control you. The man understood. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Life will bring loss, failure, and heartache. That is the nature of existence. But suffering does not come from pain itself. It comes from how we respond to it. When we resist pain, when we dwell on it, when we ask, "Why me?" we tighten our grip on suffering. But when we accept it, learn from it, and choose to keep moving forward, we create space for peace. The power of a smile. In Buddhism, a simple smile is considered an act of mindfulness. It does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means recognizing that even in suffering, there is still something beautiful to hold on to. A smile says, "I will not let this pain consume me." A smile says, "I still have the power to choose peace." A smile says, "Even in darkness, I can find light." Think of the most resilient people in the world, the ones who have faced unimaginable hardships, yet they still laugh, they still love, they still smile. They are not stronger than you, they have simply chosen to expand their hearts. How to smile through pain. 1. Acknowledge your pain, don't suppress it, feel it fully, but don't let it define you. 2. Find one thing to be grateful for. Even in the darkest times, there is something. A friend's kindness, a moment of peace, a memory of joy. 3. Help others. When you lift someone else, you also lift yourself. 4. Breathe and smile. Even if it feels small, even if it feels difficult, smile. It is a reminder that you are still here, still alive, still capable of joy. Pain is part of life, but how we carry it, that is our choice. Life is not just suffering. Yes, there are hardships, loss, failure, uncertainty, but there is also beauty, love, and joy in every moment. We suffer when we chase happiness as if it is something far away. But happiness is not in the future, nor is it hidden in achievements, wealth, or status. It is found in the simple things: a deep breath, a warm smile, the feeling of sunlight on your skin. The truth is, suffering and joy exist together. The key is learning how to embrace both without losing yourself. Instead of resisting pain, accept it and let it teach you. Instead of waiting for happiness, find it in the present moment. Instead of drowning in busyness, slow down and truly live. Instead of being consumed by suffering, choose to smile, even through the pain. Happiness is not something you chase, it is something you create, moment by moment, through mindfulness, gratitude, and acceptance. Now, I ask you, what is one small thing in your life today that brings you peace? Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like and share it, because someone out there might need to hear this today. Stay mindful, stay present, and remember, life is more than just suffering, it is a gift. Live it fully. I'll see you in the next video.